This is All 32 Picks and IPAs, your NFL and craft beer fancast, with your hosts Adam Emmert, Brandan Schultz, and Gerrad Tim. Play along at picksandIPAs.com/join. Hooray football! Hooray beer!
This is All 32 Picks and IPAs, and I am your host, introducing myself first this week as the winner, Brandan Schultz.
That feel good?
It does. It feels good. I thought I was just going to get a lot of dead air from you guys after that, but nice of you to finally chime in. And
hey, I didn't know where you were going with that. Look, you're the co-host and you're starting it out. I expect you to lead us to where you need to go. Like, don't just leave us hanging.
I expect a little bit of reaction to my awesomeness from last week.
Okay, fine. Boo.
You're just pissed because you're the third place, which leaves Gerrad Tim, Broncos fan, in second place.
I think this is the first time all season I hit the 100 mark. No, I told you I was just going to get higher and higher and higher.
Well, when you start out at the fucking bottom of the barrel, no doubt.
I just wanted to be happier as the season went on.
Yeah, that's fine.
Not getting pissed because I'm getting worse.
You deserve to have a good week for once. It was a good weekend for you.
And at DFL, that is Adam Emmert.
Yeah, sucking hind tit, but this week, but that's okay. I'll trade in that week for a Seahawks win over the Patriots. That's fine.
Well, I got the Seahawks win and I got 150 points. So tell you what, it feels better that way.
I guess so, man. All right. And we're drinking beer.
We are drinking beer.
Middle of the day.
Which is pretty nice.
Yeah, it's okay. It's afternoon. You can have a lunchtime beer.
Yeah. Sure.
We are drinking the Sprecher Brewing Company Oktoberfest. An Oktoberfest in November, gentlemen.
It's never too late to drink an Oktoberfest.
Yeah, that's true.
It's a good fall beer.
Yeah.
And you could probably, if you go to your local store, it'll probably have the Oktoberfest on clearance by now.
Oh, there you go. See, you are a value drinker. That's how you do it. Right there.
And another screw top. So there you go.
And it also said that it was twist off right on it. So you didn't look like an a-hole, like trying to
I still pop the top anyway. It's just a habit.
Oh, well, that's because you're illiterate.
Yeah. I just judged this beer. That's it.
Yeah.
Well, gentlemen, before we get into this week's picks, let's run down the list of risk picks, the possible risk picks this week. And Adam, you're going to get to go first. Let's run down the list. The Bears are the underdog going on the road against the Giants. The Bucks are underdogs against the Chiefs, who are playing at home. The Browns are a home underdog, one of only two home underdogs this week, and they're playing the Steelers, coming off that loss to the Cowboys. The Ravens are an underdog against the Cowboys this week. The Jags underdogs to the Lions. The 49ers, big underdogs at home against the Patriots. And the Eagles underdogs against the Seahawks. And that'll be in Seattle. And the Texans, road underdogs, going on the road to Oakland.
A lot of interesting picks there to be had. Do I announce mine now then? Like right out of the gate? Or are we going to just announce what it is and then we'll get to those games when we get to them?
Well, you're going to have to announce them now because we're going to have to go through our picks. By the time we get to the
first one.
Okay, I got Bucks. Bucks over Chiefs.
All right, Gerrad, who do you have?
Oh, boy.
I can tell that was the one that you wanted.
That was the one I wanted. I think.
Should we give him a time limit and then I can go and I can jump him?
I am going to go with Baltimore over the Cowboys.
Damn it.
So, Brandon, that sounds like the one you really wanted.
That was the next one that I was eyeballing. So I am going to take the Bears to win over the Giants.
Wow. I'm surprised nobody took the Texans over the Raiders.
There's no way.
Osweiler looked god awful this last week.
Yeah, that means he'll have a bounce back game.
Against the Raiders. Okay. Yeah. They're going to have to shoot. That's going to have to be a shootout. I don't think he has a shootout in him on the road.
Maybe not. It's a risk pick, man.
I'll cheer for him, but I'll take Chuckler and the Bears against the Giants, which
Cutler looked really bad.
Yeah, well, that's why he's the backup quarterback.
Oh, did he get benched?
Did he get demoted?
No, but not again.
Oh, okay. Well, that means he's a starter then.
I am switching my risk pick now.
Oh, really? Oh, bonk. Okay, got it. So no penalty.
Are we going to talk about Gerrad's penalty? Because I had come up with a really interesting idea for a penalty, and apparently, Adam, you pitched it to Gerrad, and he just wasn't into it.
Yeah,
what was it? I can't remember what it was.
I suggested that you should have to name your firstborn son after Seahawks and Denver Broncos linebacker Dave Wyman. I think Wyman would be an outstanding boy's name.
I knew a kid growing up named Wyman.
Didn't work for you, huh?
No.
We're a fan.
Solid suggestion, but what were some other ones? Have we had any other ones?
There was another suggestion that was good.
All right, guys, this came in from Dan York. Said, obviously, taking points from Gerrad does no good, as he is too far behind that it doesn't matter.
Man.
So I say you make him drink and rate a wine cooler next show.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, I got a solid suggestion.
As much as I don't want to do that, that's probably a pretty good punishment because I hate wine coolers. They're disgusting.
Yep, that's what's happening.
All right.
I suggest those Angry Orchard wine coolers. Those are terrible.
All right. We even have a nomination. Perfect. All right. There's the punishment. It will be enforced.
I'll bring, you know what? I think I have some in my pantry that I can bring down to you along with the equipment for when you make your roadie to your new home, Gerrad.
No, you're not, because I'm going to drive up there and pick it up from you since I got to go up and do Santa pictures.
Okay. Oh, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, let's just keep it easy.
It may not make it. It may not be next week, but coming up, I'm passing those off to you, Gerrad.
Okay. All right, guys. Let's pass this off to our picks. Let's lock them in.
It's time to lock in this week's picks.
So, first game of the week, Thursday night game, Saints at Panthers. Gerrad, Panthers go up 17-0 against the Chiefs and gack it away. Saints lose a game in the most inexplicable way I've ever seen last week. Who you got?
Well, I actually still believe in the Saints. I think they're a really quality team, and other than that botched PAT attempt in the end of the game, they had it last week. You know, at home, they're a good team. This week, they are on the road, but New Orleans has a way better chance, I believe, of making the playoffs than Carolina does. I mean, Carolina's last in the division, not by much because that division's pretty putrid. I mean, Atlanta's leading the division at 6-4. I just think New Orleans has a lot more to play for. I think they're playing more consistently. I'm going with New Orleans on the road against Carolina.
This is tough. This is a coin flip game as far as users are concerned, too. 52% going with the home team Panthers, 48% with the Saints. I think because it is a road game for the Saints and the Carolina Panthers are starting to show some sign of life, this could be the game that kind of vaults them back in, at least to starting to compete in that division. Cam Newton, though, still, they continue to use him to run up the middle, and he's taking huge shots. That's not a sustainable way to run your offense. And clearly, you can't be complaining about how afraid you are being out there on the playing field when you're running the ball up the middle as a quarterback. That bugs me, but I'm going to take the home team on this one, going with the Panthers.
I mean, also think about Drew Brees going against his fairly depleted secondary.
Fairly depleted?
Or non-existent, whatever you want to call it.
I think your mom could start for the
Because look at what he's done against the Broncos and the Seahawks. Drew Brees had a lot of success against those good Ds.
This is going to be a blowout, dude. Drew Brees is going to throw for 5 touchdowns on this team. This is going to be like 42-6. I mean,
I think so. I think this could be a shootout.
42-24. It'll be something like that. Look, the thing is Cam and this team, they're in such a dark place mentally. They're not playing for one another. They're just trotting out there and expecting to win because of their season that they had last year. Mm-hmm. Cam's leadership has been horrible this year. It really has. And then the idea that, the commissioner's out to get me and I'm tired of it. I'm over it. I said the Panthers would struggle this year. The Super Bowl hangover is a real thing. Plus, I didn't think they were quite as good as they ended up being last year. I felt like lightning in a bottle. And on top of all that, Cam Newton is not a tier 1 quarterback. He is not an elite level quarterback. He's had one great season in this league and a bunch of mediocre ones. You're seeing another mediocre one play out. I got the Saints all day. All right, guys. Going on to an NFC matchup this was one of the most baffling ones to me, Brandan. I had no idea how to pick this because both these teams kind of stink, surprisingly. The Arizona Cardinals go on the road to take on the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah, this week, it's really interesting how this week plays out because it's either risk pick territory for half the teams on the schedule, and the other half of the teams on the schedule are essentially a coin flip. And that's it could make for some interesting picks this week. And as you could see, clearly no consensus even on the Thursday night game among us. This was a pretty good game last year when these two teams played, and it came down to Bridgewater fumbling on a strip sack by the Cardinals on the final play of the game. And now this year, the Vikings, they have Bradford, but no Adrian Peterson. And then you have Carson Palmer going up against that Vikings defense. Man, and a coin flip game among user consensus too. 46% with the Vikings, 54% with the Cardinals. Going Boomer Sooner with the home team, going Vikings.
Well, I guess when it comes down to a coin flip, I mean, that's kind of what it finally busted down to me is taking the home team. I'm not taking the Vikings. I'm just taking the home team. Like Carson Palmer and the Cardinals basically eked out a victory against the freaking 49ers last week in Santa Clara. I think the Vikings are a little bit better than them.
They got rid of Blair Walsh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man, he's been tough. He's been tough for that team this year. I wish him the best. I hope he gets his head straight and he latches on somewhere else. I think that's probably the best move for both people, Blair Walsh and the Vikings. I think he'll get it together. He's got talent, man. But Carson Palmer he's not playing that elite level football that he did for the one season for Bruce Arians. That Vikings defense, I think, has enough to slow them down to where this is 13-10 game. And the home, just being at home is the difference, Vikings.
Yeah, I think I struggled with this game as much as you guys did. I mean, I would have never thought at the beginning of the season that the Vikings were going to lose 4 straight and be tied for first with the Lions. Wow. I don't really know how this has really happened, but I still know that the Vikings can't run the ball. Sam Bradford is still bad, but also, like you said, Adam, I mean, for the Cardinals to struggle to win a game against they made the 49ers look like a
competent team.
A competent team, yeah, and I can't get behind that at all. I'm going with the home team, Minnesota. I think they're going to finally get back into the win column and maybe potentially take over first place from the Lions.
Lions are seriously in first place in the NFC North?
Yeah, but they play Jacksonville, so they're probably going to get another win.
What? It's end times. It's the end times. I'm telling you. It's got to be if the Lions are in first place in the NFC North. Well, so speaking of the NFC North, Brandan, the Chicago Bears go on the road to take on the New York Football Giants. And Gerrad, we saw your former quarterback, Chuckler, look really abysmal last week. It's got to be the end of the road for him in Chicago. While the Giants at 6-3 seem to be in the playoff hunt in a fairly dangerous team. Like that random Eli Super Bowl winning year feels like it's coming to fruition a little bit.
You know, I watched a lot of that game against the Cincinnati Bengals, and these are the same team to me. Ooh. You know, they're both that very middle of the pack kind of a football team, which are kind of on the outside looking into the playoffs. But when you look at the Giants' record at 6-3, they're going to win they're going to get a wild card spot and they're going to get in the playoffs. They're not going to beat Dallas for that division, but I think they're going to get in there. And Chicago, I was wrong about Cutler. I thought he had one more FU game, and I thought it was going to be last week. It was an FU game, but not on his part. But I'm going Giants because I think that he's got a little bit left as long as he doesn't get banged up. But that defense, everybody was anointing them after that game. Oh, this Giants revamped defense. They didn't play that good. They had 2 sacks on the very last drive when they needed those long routes to develop. That was it. They didn't do much other than that. The Bengals actually moved the ball pretty well. I'm going Giants at home, though.
I agree with you, Gerrad. I'm ejecting from my risk pick. The Bears last week played terrible.
You made that pick with a lot of conviction, Brandon. What, you stuck with it for all of 7 minutes?
I stuck with it for 7 minutes. And you guys, I'm going to surprise you coming up as who I'm going to take. And because I am going last, I think I have that luxury of making that switch now. Because, man, Cutler to only put up 10 points against the Tampa Bay Bucks. I think he can maybe put up 13 against the Giants, but the Giants are going to be able to throw all over the Bears secondary. And, and the thing is about the Bears, Alshon Jeffrey now suspended for 4 games.
Yeah. I think that Alshon Jeffrey suspension is a big deal for them. I mean, obviously he's a great playmaker, mainly because he's enhanced. But no, I mean, I say that rather flippantly, but yeah, suspended for 4 games for PEDs. That's disappointing. It's always disappointing.
Yeah,
when you
never like to see that.
A good player. But
users are taking it out on the Bears because 96% are going with the Giants, only 4% with the Bears.
I remember when the Huffington Post said that Hillary Clinton had a 98% chance to win the presidency the day before.
I don't know if it was that high.
It was. It literally was by their calculations.
Oh, sure.
But it's hilarious. I don't know. The Giants they're an interesting team. I mean, the NFC East is loaded. The idea that the Giants, Redskins, Eagles will be battling it out. And I think maybe the Eagles might end up being the odd man out of that equation. And not just because of starting a rookie quarterback or anything, or that they're a worse team. I just think that their schedule, for example, them playing Seattle this week in Seattle, it's just going to be tough for them to keep up with those other 2 teams. But I got the Giants. I think they'll run all over the Bears. I think this will be, and by run, I mean pass. All right, guys, on to celebrating. And I think it's time to just put this to bed for the last time. Gerrad, I think you agree. The best quarterback in the draft 2 years ago, Marcus Mariota and the Tennessee Titans go on the road to take on the second best quarterback of the draft 2 years before that in Andrew Luck and the Indianapolis Colts. Who you got? And Mariota's the best.
Yeah, I suppose he is. He's been pretty damn impressive, not just with his arm and his physical talent, but his decision making has been pretty good too. He's making all the right checks at the line of scrimmage from what I can see. You know, I'm not hearing what he's doing or if he's checking or if he's just mumbling out there. But whatever he's doing, it looks like it's working. He's got a lot of talent in that run game to take some pressure off of him. And, you know, Indianapolis, I am not sold. And Tennessee beat the Packers by a lot more than Indianapolis did. Mm-hmm. I'm taking Tennessee. And you got to think about it. They're in second place behind Houston, who is they're a declining team. Yeah. Tennessee is up and coming. I think Tennessee's going to win this division. They're 5-5 right now. They're going to gain ground, I think, on Houston this week as Houston plays Oakland down in Mexico City. Tennessee's going to be on top of this division in a couple of weeks.
Is that game in Mexico City?
Yeah.
Wow.
I got Tennessee.
Well, Tennessee definitely on a hot streak. They've scored more than 30 points in their last 3 games. The last time they didn't score 30 points, though, was against the Indianapolis Colts and at home. So now they go on the road and take on Indy. But putting up 36 points against the Jags, 35 points against the Chargers, and then 47 points. Mariota with 4 touchdowns on the Packers, and DeMarco Murray having another huge day with 123 yards. I like this Tennessee offense, and I think this is going to be the team that ends up coming out of this division. I'm going Tennessee, and looking at user consensus on this one, most people going with the Titans, 59%, only 41% with the Colts.
What are the Titans' remaining games, Brandon? Do you have that pulled up by chance? You were just rattling off some of their past scores, so I was guessing maybe you had their schedule.
I do. They go on the road again against the Bears after this. Then they have their bye.
Okay.
And then they finish off their season. Their last 4 games is Denver at Tennessee. They go on the road at KC.
Ooh.
Then on the road at Jacksonville. And then they're back home against Houston. So that's depending on how Houston does, those
could 4 winnable games. They'll beat Denver.
No, man.
I don't know. Denver and then at KC.
Mariota to beat Denver. That's going to be a great weekend.
If by chance it would happen, which it won't.
Hey, man, Mariota's on a tear. I think you guys are right. I just wanted to hear what their last remaining games were. And they have a chance. Granted, Denver game will be difficult. The Kansas City game will be difficult, but they have a shot to win both those games.
Yeah, they could win the division.
Keep dropping some.
They could win the division at 9-7 because if they beat Indy now, that series will be tied up, and then they take on Houston to finish off the season. That could be the AFC South championship.
Yeah. And I mean, I think Tennessee could do some damage in the postseason just because of the run game alone and the fact that Mariota can use play action and he can throw on the run very, very well.
He's very effective at it. That's interesting. Well, obviously I have the Titans in this. I find it interesting that these are the last two teams that are both these teams just beat the Packers in consecutive weeks. I mean, that shows you the state of affairs in Green Bay. I mean, I think going into the season, we both would have said that's ludicrous.
Right.
That these two teams from the AFC South would win. And that's part of the reason why when people come out at the very beginning of the year and they look at the schedule and they're like, oh, Tennessee's got the third easiest strength of schedule or Green Bay's got the... Well, fuck that, dude. That's so stupid. You don't know who's going to be good and who's going to be bad until about halfway through the season. And so when Green Bay looked at the schedule, it was like, oh, Colts and Tennessee in 2 back-to-back weeks, they were chalking those up as wins. That's why that exercise is stupid. I hope to not do that next year. But
we're going to do it anyways because you just can't help it.
Yeah, right. All right. So we got, so we all got Titans. On that note, let's talk beer.
Next up, this week's beer review.
Let's talk beer a little bit. Brandon, you're doing the reading today, right?
I got the read, and this is Sprecher Brewing Company. I think maybe you have to really German it up. Sprecher. Yeah. Their Oktoberfest, traditionally brewed to celebrate the harvest season. This reddish-brown lager has a rich caramel character and a long, flavorful finish. The aroma gives off a malty, sweet, woody-like note with just a tiny bit of syrup sugariness. Its delicious, malty sweetness is nicely accented by a slightly fruity bouquet and a mild hop flavor.
You're a slightly fruity bouquet.
You're a sweet, woody-like note.
Yeah.
Draw.
All right, guys. How do you feel about this beer?
Like you said, I can't get over that aftertaste. I like it when it first hits my lips because it's carbonated and it's kind of light for an Oktoberfest. But man, once I can't get the glue out of my
dude, it tastes like envelope glue. That lingering aftertaste they talk about. I hate this beer. I'm not gonna lie. I really do. We don't often pan beers, and we've got another beer to review from that brewery, and I'm excited to review that because, like for example, at Kettle House here in Missoula, there's a couple beers that I can't stand of theirs. Yet they brew a lot of really great beers.
Yeah.
So I don't take that as like this brewery stinks. I don't care for this beer at all. It is way too sweet, and then again that aftertaste, it tastes like freaking envelope glue.
I don't get that, but I've been licking envelopes all week, so I may be used to it. This beer at 5.5% alcohol by volume, and you spoke to the sweetness. For lunch I was having a bowl of chips, and
that's
so
not a lunch.
No.
Well, it's part of my lunch. I mean, I had I had a piece of chicken too, but so. I think you really need the something salty to really balance out this beer. And so if you have some chips or if you have some pretzels, I think that would make the difference with this beer.
Yeah, maybe it will. I actually gave mine to Gerrad. I couldn't drink more than a third of it.
Yeah.
And then since it's beer, I'll just drink it anyways. Yeah. Oh. But I actually licked an envelope right before I came here today. I had to pay a bill, and it's surprisingly similar. I'm not even lying.
Yeah. But anyway, so... we look forward to checking out the other beer that was sent to us by Sprecher here. Yeah. And I have a feeling it'll be more to my liking. I've never been a huge Oktoberfest guy to begin with. The one idea about this beer that I like is that they went kind of more towards the lager end of things with, having it be a lager. And that was an interesting concept. I like the idea because I do like me some lagers.
I wonder if this may just be their beer where they're like, well, everybody else brews an Oktoberfest. Maybe we should give one a try as well.
Yeah. And it's
just to fill up the tap.
And we'll do it a little different. Yeah.
Well, looking at beeradvocate.com, and the label is a little bit different. So maybe they changed things up, but it was an award-winning beer back in 2004. The label has changed, and this Beer Advocate score gave it an 85, with users giving it an average of 3.8. So it could be that they changed something up. I don't know why you'd change your label. It kind of looked like a pretty tough label before.
I don't know.
Although the German dude playing guitar is kind of cool.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But that award that they won was back before craft breweries really started gaining some steam.
True. So the competition.
Maybe they just didn't know better.
Yeah. Could be.
You know,
all right, guys, let's move on to some more picks here. This was an interesting game. This seemed harder to me right out of the gate, and this is why I made it my risk pick. Tampa Bay Buccaneers go on the road to take on the Chiefs. Jameis Winston and company looked pretty decent this last week. The Chiefs got down, like I said, 17-0. Now, they did manage to claw their way back, and the defense turned it on, but the Chiefs don't seem like a great come-from-behind team to me when you have somebody like Alex Smith as your quarterback. Even though he's tied with Russell Wilson for most fourth-quarter stats in their career right now. They both have 17. It's only taken Alex Smith twice as long to get there, but hey, whatever.
Who's keeping track, huh?
He hasn't always been the starter, though, either. So
yeah,
that's part of it.
Kind of speaks to it, too. Yeah.
Right.
But I'm going with the Bucs. This is my risk pick, and I don't know. It's tough to put my faith in Jameis, but I'm doing it.
You know, I would have gone with Tampa Bay too. This would have been my risk pick. Number one, I need Kansas City to lose very badly. Number two, Jameis Winston has a really strong arm. And I think that down the road, he could rein that in and put a little more touch on his passes and become more accurate. I mean, I know he's not playing like Mariota, but he could get better, and I kind of hope that he does. But Kansas City, for some odd reason, has come from behind numerous times, from a lot of points down this season. I think twice they've come from a long ways down, and maybe they shouldn't have. Maybe they should be 5-4, but instead, somehow they're 7-2. But at home with that crowd, I think they're going to be a little too much because their defense played okay last week. I'm gonna go with Kansas City at home.
Yeah, some teams just know how to win in those final minutes, and KC, one of those teams that they can get it done at home. I don't think they've even lost at home this year. They squeaked out one against the Chargers in week 1. They beat the Jets in week 3. They beat New Orleans in week 7. And New Orleans, another good offensive team. I think obviously New Orleans has a better offense than Tampa Bay. So and then the other team that they beat at home was Jacksonville. So the Chiefs are undefeated at home this year. That's why I like the Chiefs a lot to beat the Bucs. Going Kansas City, 93% user consensus, 7% going with the Bucs.
Wow, wow, that's surprising. All right, guys. Buffalo Bills coming off a battle with the bye week, take on the Cincinnati Bengals, and the Bengals 3-5-1 as they lose yet again on Monday night, 21-20 to the Giants. Are the wheels on the bus completely off for the Bengals? Is it over, Brandon?
Oh, it's not over with the Bengals as long as you have Tyler Eifert as your tight end, AJ Green as your receiver. They're losing close games. And this was another case where they had an opportunity to beat the Giants. They had several opportunities where they could have closed the Giants out, and they could just never do it. And fortunately for the Bengals, this is not a primetime matchup with the Bills. So I'm liking the Bills to lose at Cincinnati. And it's kind of another coin flip game, 45% going with the Bengals. So taking the slight underdog here, 55% with the Bills. But yeah, I like Cincy.
You know, surprisingly, Cincinnati is actually still in this division.
Yeah,
they're still in it. But I mean, Brandon, you said that they're losing these close games. Well, these were the close games that they used to win. And they haven't been beating good teams or even mediocre teams. They're beating teams that they obviously should because they're not a bottom of the barrel type of a team. But I do think this is the beginning of a decline, at least for the next couple of years for the Bengals, because their coaching staff has been picked apart. A lot of their players have been picked apart, especially on that defense. I mean, I don't really see where they're going to improve the rest of this season, let alone next year, because they're going to go with the same old head coach, the same old quarterback, who's just going to get them to about the top the 75th percentile of the NFL. So, I mean, in this game, I got Buffalo because I've been incredibly impressed with Buffalo recently, especially, when they went in to Seattle, it played a really good team with an incredible home field advantage with that crowd and a team who just plays well at home anyways. They actually competed, and that was one of the games that impressed me the most because I did pick them in that game, but I thought they were going to lose by 2 scores, and they did, man. They hung in there. So I think Buffalo is a lot tougher than I would have thought, and so I'm going Buffalo on the road.
I think what impresses me about Buffalo is their offensive line. It really is a very solid offensive line. In fact, I think it's better than the Patriots' offensive line now as a Seahawks fan, seeing those two lines back to back in 2 weeks. You're right about Buffalo. They really did compete their ass off in Seattle. And I feel like that's a much more difficult venue to play than in Cincinnati. And Tyrod Taylor was electric on Monday night. And I think he's playing better ball than Andy Dalton right now. And I think you hit it on the head too, Gerrad, with the idea that the Bengals are a team in decline. I mean, they really did. Their window to do this was last year. And the Dalton injury, just derailed all of that. And I think they do need a change of head coach. It's time there. I mean, basically Marvin Lewis is a lot like Jeff Fisher in that regard. It's just time. It's gotten stale. And the personnel has gotten lesser. You think about Sanu leaving and Marvin Jones leaving in free agency. And like you said, the coaches as well. I like the Bills on the road.
Well, and I don't think Marvin Lewis is a bad coach. I just think maybe he needs a change of scenery.
Yeah.
I mean, it does a lot of coaches a lot of good.
I think it'd do Andy Dalton good.
Yeah.
If this game were happening in the playoffs, I would totally agree with you and pick the Bills. But
the Bills are somehow third in that division. We'll talk about that more here in just a second. All right, guys. Pittsburgh Steelers coming off a soul-crushing loss to the Dallas Cowboys. Take on the Cleveland Browns, who still somehow remain winless. I'm sure everybody's got Steelers, but Gerrad, you got Steelers, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Steelers in second place behind the Baltimore Ravens.
That's so stupid.
They're probably gonna be tied after this week. I'm going Pittsburgh.
Okay.
Here it is, guys. I dumped the Bears as my risk pick. I'm taking the Browns. Wow. Taking the Browns to get their first win. One, I like. There's upsets can happen. Upsets can happen. One, when the home team, when you have a home team and they're in division. And so that's why I tend to, if I'm going to take a risk pick this week, that's where, and Gerrad, you took mine coming up here with the Ravens and the Cowboys. I think the Ravens do have the defense that gives them a chance. We'll talk about that game. But yes, this is my risk pick. And Ben not looking all that great, but that was actually, going back a couple weeks, he didn't look great. That was a heck of a game between the Steelers and the Cowboys.
Oh, man.
But as we've seen, Pittsburgh can have those games where they lose to a team where you just wouldn't even expect. And the Browns, they have the heart to win at least one game this year. Taking Cleveland.
Interesting. Well, that stupid game last week, man. Like I was 2 picks away from getting to my 10 and getting into the bonus and all that. You know, the two that screwed me over? Steelers, Cowboys lost in the last second. And that was an insane game.
And who else?
Frickin' Broncos Saints. On that stupid blocked extra point.
Well, you know what did it for the Steelers? They went for 2 points on every single touchdown. Had they gone for the extra point in all those instances and got the extra point, it wouldn't have been so close for the Cowboys to be able to come back.
Do you think they're going to start to rethink this, Brandon, at some point and maybe just start kicking PATs? Or do they stick with their aggressive mentality?
I don't think Shaft gives a fuck. I think he's going to keep doing it.
I think so too.
I really do. But how about the fake spike by Roethlisberger? That was fun.
Yeah, Dan Marino-esque.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Bringing it back.
Apparently it's Bernie Kosar-esque. Apparently he might have been the first one to ever have done it, but doesn't.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But because let's not give Dan Marino credit for anything.
Good idea.
Because screw that guy. But yeah, I got the Steelers. There's the more talented team here, but I'll be rooting for the Browns.
4% of us rooting for the Browns. Maybe those 4% also have to take a risk pick at some point, and then just went Browns 96% with the Steelers.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, guys, Ravens to take on the Dallas Cowboys in Dallas. Brandon, I think we already know where your head's at on this, so I'm going to go to Gerrad here first. Ravens somehow leading their division. That's mind-blowing. And then Tony Romo coming out and conceding the starting job to Dak Prescott this week.
Oh, man, I don't know if this is going to be a Tony Romo curse on the Dallas Cowboys. It might be. And that's what I'm hoping for, because this is my risk pick game. But when you think about it, Dallas did kind of struggle against Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh should have won that game, and Baltimore is playing better than Pittsburgh, beat them at home a couple weeks ago. I actually feel pretty good about this risk pick, considering Dallas hasn't really had to play too many really tough games. So I think Baltimore is a veteran team that can kind of hand this rookie offense its first loss. I know it's at home for Dallas, and they got their huge raucous home crowd now that they're winning again, but somebody's got to beat these guys. It almost happened last week with a lesser Pittsburgh team. I'm going Baltimore.
I have to go Dallas. I said that I'm not going to pick against them, and I guess Gerrad saved me from that by picking the Ravens for his risk pick. But Dallas is just they're steady, man. And Ezekiel Elliott is playing incredibly solid. I mean, over 100 yards almost every week, or right up to it. And just a nice compliment to Dak Prescott. It helps keep their defense off the field. They can control time of possession, and which helps out the quarterback not having to take too many chances. They stay in games, and they might lose 2 more games this year. They have a couple tough games where it might be a tough matchup. This could be one of them, but I am going Dallas almost here on out.
Interesting. I think you had that just flip-flopped backwards there, what you said earlier, Brandan, about Ezekiel Elliott being a nice compliment to Dak Prescott. I think it's absolutely the other way around. I think Dak Prescott's a great compliment to Ezekiel Elliott. He's
I don't know how that's any different, but continue.
Well, one's more the primary reason for success, and the other one more complements that guy's skill set. And I think Ezekiel Elliott is playing. He might be the best running back in the league right now as a rookie. And you can't say Dak Prescott is the best quarterback in the league right now. I mean, he's played very well. But I saw a headline today that Dak Prescott has the look of an all-time great. Let's pump the brakes.
So what you're saying is Dak Prescott is the Troy Aikman to Ezekiel Elliott's Emmitt Smith.
And they're both those guys to the 90s Cowboys offensive line, because it's the same. I want to pump the brakes on both these guys, but I'll let you finish this, and then I think we should maybe discuss it a little.
I'm not saying either of these guys are Hall of Famers. I'm just saying that right. In terms of their roles.
Yeah. Ezekiel is playing well. I mean, now he does have monster holes to run through and all that, but he's a talent. There's no doubt about that. Look, the Ravens are a veteran team, and I think they can give these rookies a difficult run for their money. And just like you guys said earlier, they struggled with the Steelers the week before. I don't think they have much of a home field advantage. Dallas fans are pathetic. I'm picking the Cowboys, but I don't feel good about it. I think this could be the week that you see the headline that the Cowboys lose and Dak Prescott has a clunker of a game right after Tony Romo endorses him, and the whole thing gets sped up again. Who should be playing, Romo or Prescott? Like, I could just see that kind of drama surrounding this team.
Of the risk picks this week, the Ravens actually have more people on board than anybody else, 12% to Dallas's 88%.
Even better.
I'm taking Dallas, but I'm.
Oh, check.
Okay.
I'll check that. The Eagles actually have 1% more, but we can talk about that in a minute.
So of these two rookies, Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott, I'm a lot higher on Dak Prescott because he didn't have Des Bryant to begin this season with. It's taken him approximately 2.5 weeks to get acclimated to this, and he's doing really well with it. Granted, he's not asked to do a lot, and he's standing behind a really, really good offensive line, maybe the best in the NFL. But and so I think he's got a really promising future with just his ability to adapt. He's a lot smarter of a football player than I would have thought. But with Ezekiel Elliott, I mean, everybody's so quick to just love this guy. But yeah, man, he's got 5 yards in any direction to run through at all times. So if you mean to tell me who would have more yards right now behind this offensive line, Marshawn Lynch or Ezekiel Elliott?
I think we all know the answer.
Okay. Adrian Peterson.
I bet you that'd be pretty close.
I don't think it would be. I think these guys are way better than Ezekiel Elliott just because he's not asked to do anything. He makes one cut and the seas part for him on almost every single running play. I don't think we really know too much about him because he's not asked to even make reads hardly. He does one thing and that's it. He finds a giant gaping hole. Any NFL running back can do that.
How about would Todd Gurley get more yards behind that line?
Yes. Todd Gurley's great, man. If you put him and Sam Bradford back there together and reunite.
Oh, man.
Come on.
That'd be a great offensive backfield right there.
I'm not as high on Ezekiel Elliott as everybody else is because we haven't seen him really do all that much. You put him on the Browns and what's he doing? Anything more than anybody else?
He's not leading the league in rushing, that's for sure. Look, I'm not saying that I'm ready to crown Ezekiel Elliott. He's got some talent. I mean, obviously. I think, and I do, if you want to talk about ceilings, future ceilings, I think Dak's ceiling overall is higher than Elliott's. I do. Does he have the makings of an all-time great? I don't know, man. We got a lot of seasons to go until then. But I could see him making a Pro Bowl or two.
Mm-hmm. So my thing about Ezekiel Elliott, he runs exactly like one guy, and I'm not trying to be a homer here, and I don't know if too many listeners will remember this guy, but he reminds me just his stature, the way he runs, even the way he catches the ball in the backfield, like Olandis Gary. He runs like his hair's on fire, and he's not afraid of contact whatsoever, and he actually looks for it. He didn't last very long.
Yeah.
With the punishment that he takes on plays where he doesn't really need to, I don't know if he's going to last that long.
No, that's an interesting thought.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Moving on to a game that none of us will care much about, even though one of the teams is somehow in first place in their division. The dumpster fire Jaguars on the road to take on the Lions. Brandon.
Yeah, this is everybody's jumping off the Jaguars bandwagon at this point, right? Because only 6% user consensus going with the Jags on the road against the Lions. And the Lions, a team that maybe nobody expected to be in this position, right? Because the Vikings, they had the defense at the beginning of the year. The Packers, they had the offense at the beginning of the year. But the Lions are kind of a mix of, they have a pretty good offense when Stafford's good. And they have enough of a defense to be able to shut teams down. So they're kind of the middle of the pack that just ends up rising above those other two teams and now leading the division. So I like the Lions to continue, especially against a Jaguars team that really, Blake Bortles, holy smokes, a guy that you really expected to be good and isn't. 94% with the Lions. I'm with Detroit.
I didn't expect Blake Bortles to be good, but I expected him to be really good. I expected him to be at least league average, and man, he's just not even close to there. It's sad to see Gus Bradley fail down there, but I don't know what to make of these Lions yet. They just play in a division that nobody wants. None of these teams want to win this division. Not one. I don't know. And I mean, look, I couldn't tell one way or the other by looking at Jim Caldwell either. I can't tell if he wants to win this or not. Or
he showed excitement a couple weeks back, right? When they got that late win against the Vikings. And we listened to that on the radio, though, Adam. So we didn't get to see his excitement, but he did.
He have a fist pump?
He showed emotion.
That's just part of his programming package.
Once in a while to simulate.
So that people feel comfortable around him. Yeah. Yeah. That's all that was about. But yeah, I got Lions. I don't know about you, Gerrad.
All right. I got the Lions too. So Gus Bradley, here's what I'm rooting for. He gets the hell out of a stadium that has a cabana and wants to be a legitimate football franchise, and he gets another coaching opportunity with a football town. I don't think he is the problem. I think he's a good coach. He had this young, talentless roster last year playing very well and playing hard. This year, you just can't overcome the cabana. And right now, Jacksonville is competing with San Francisco and Chicago for the second pick in the draft. And the Lions are on a completely different spectrum of the NFL right now, trying to win a division. I'm going with Detroit at home.
So, all right. No, I'm going to save this question for topics after. Okay. But you do bring up a good point about them playing for the second pick in the draft at this point. All right, let's move on, guys. I
got some winners if we want to run down our leaderboard.
Yeah, actually, you're right. I meant to go with winners here.
I know you did. That's why I jumped in. I jumped in and stopped you.
Look, I basically, I had one more game. I was going to do Dolphins-Rams. I have it written down right here. That's what I was going to do.
He just wrote that.
bullshit. You guys suck.
Winners this last week are Polly Lockett Dream Pod and Bald Men.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
And Bald Men for Bald Win with 170 points, followed up by Toonhawk and Earl Thomas's Crown with 160. So two people who only missed one pick. One missed the Rams game and one missed the Falcons game.
Earl Thomas's Crown is a strong name. It's a sneaky strong name because they're referring to the fact that he wore a crown during his wedding this last offseason.
Yeah.
Like that's a sneaky good reference right there.
Not as good as Bruce Arians' head folds, though.
No, not as good as his fat ass head rolls. That's for sure. Oh, that's hilarious.
And looking at the overall leaderboard, Bald Men for Baldwin leading on top, followed by Biggity Cool and Super Tecmo Rawls.
What's your point total for our leader, the sponsored by Rogaine?
1230. So I'm only 230 back.
230.
I'm at 1,000.
I'm at 1,060.
That's cool.
So I mean, in the mix yet. I got to get it back together. Gerrad.
You'll make quad digits maybe in a couple weeks.
Yeah, I'll get there. Yeah. I mean, I got 100 last week. That's the best I've done.
You know, we get a tax break for letting everybody listen to your picks on here. Like the government just feels sorry for us for having to listen to them. All right, let's talk about a team that everybody feels sorry for too, and that's the LA Rams taking on the Miami Dolphins. And by saying everybody feels sorry for, meaning I'm pointing and laughing because they're well on their way to 7-9 yet again. Dolphins on a large win streak here. It's either 4 or 5 games. Gerrad, who you got? Jared Goff in the house.
Goff getting his first start in the NFL. This is gonna be terrible, man. I don't think he's good. I got Miami in this game. I mean, they're running the ball pretty consistently. You know, it's not the 200 yards in those 2 games per game that we've seen, but they're getting 100 yards out of a running back or the running game. I think their offense has found some sort of consistency, and that running game has to be there in order for Tannehill to even succeed. But I'm going with them against the Rams because I think Goff is a train wreck. I mean, this is my extensive viewing on him in the preseason, of course, that I'm judging this on. But I don't know. In his first start, I don't see him doing all that well. I don't know if he's an upgrade over Keenum, so I'm going Miami.
Well, guys, the Rams finally broke my reverse jinx. So I think I'm in the clear now. I don't have to just pick them as long as they lose. And I am not picking them this week because Jared Goff in his start, I'm not taking that game, even though they are at home. Ryan Tannehill, actually, Pro Football Focus had him rated as the top quarterback as far as his performance among all other quarterbacks last week.
They also had Tom Brady ranked higher than Russell Wilson.
They did. No, it doesn't make any sense. But a big reason why Ryan Tannehill was ranked so high is because his passer rating under pressure was 137.5 under pressure. And going up against the Rams defensive line, you know he's going to be under pressure. So if he can continue to play that well while still being under duress against the Rams, it's going to be a long day for the Los Angeles fans there. I like the Dolphins in this one, and so do 68% of users, 32% going with the Rams.
Interesting. I wish that I could take a pass on this game and not have to pick either of them because my sports hate runs so high.
You can just skip over it.
I cannot because I need the points, so I got to pick one. I'm going to go with the Dolphins, who are surprisingly in second place in the AFC East. Remember how they started out this year? Yeah. It was pretty bad.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It was pretty bad. And Adam Gase has turned this around in his first year, and he's got Ryan Tannehill playing better, which I felt like he would coming into the season. Tannehill did not look good early on, but like you said, Brandon, he's been turning on in late. Gase is a guy that can get these quarterbacks to play well. He had Jay Cutler playing well last year. I mean, let's just remember that for a minute. Now, the Dolphins, my question is this a team that makes the playoffs? Is this a team that has a legitimate shot? And here's their remaining schedule.
No.
No, they're second place. All right, you don't want to hear? All right.
No, I just don't think they'll make it. But no, okay. I do want to hear the schedule.
Listen to their schedule here, though. Like Niners at home, Ravens on the road, Cardinals at home, Jets on the road, Bills on the road, and they finish up at home against the Patriots.
The reason I don't think they make the playoffs is they're 5-4 right now. look at these teams in the AFC West, 7-2, 7-2, 7-3.
Yeah.
With those two wild cards, they're coming out of the AFC West.
But those teams all got to beat up on each other a little bit coming down the stretch too. So there's gonna be losses in there that you can't avoid.
Yes, you can.
Well, no. I mean, somebody has to lose unless you have a bunch of ties.
I don't see Miami overcoming any of that.
I think Miami finishes 9-7.
That's a solid prediction. Okay. I just was curious what your gut feeling was. I think they have a shot at making the playoffs.
Yeah, they'll be at that point to where they play New England in that final week to where they could go 10-6.
What's New England playing for at that point?
Well, maybe.
I mean, they may have the first seed all locked up and they're resting everybody.
It could be, and they do have that. New England has had trouble winning in Miami, haven't they?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that could be a winnable game. Maybe they do go 10-6. Sneak in.
Just saying. It's just a possibility. Much to my chagrin.
They get past the Broncos. Who would have the tiebreaker? They don't play each other this year, do they?
No. So, yeah, then that comes down to that weird common opponent stuff and point differentials. I don't know.
Yeah, they'll probably beat the Broncos to get in. That'd be fun.
That would be fun. All right, guys. Patriots coming off a loss to the Seattle Seahawks at home. A great game. That was a great game. And like I said on the on the Seahawks pod, going into the middle of the third quarter, I said, win or lose, this has been a great game. It turned out to be a great game. Going on the road to take on the Niners, who made it a battle against the Cardinals. We talked about that a little earlier. I'm sure we're all going Niners on this one. Patriots.
Yeah, I'm going Patriots too, because I don't think clock management's going to be an issue in the fourth quarter in this game because it's going to be several scores out. I'm going New England.
Yeah, going New England on this one as well. 97% user consensus, only 3% with the Niners.
Can we just say that Kaepernick's looked like okay?
Yeah, he's not bad. He's going to make some plays.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to give him a little credit for that.
I think with him, you have a lot to defend with him because he does have a good arm and he can throw with accuracy, but it's also he can move, man. So he's just a tough guy to defend.
Yeah,
he's the better quarterback between the two options that they have with Gabbert. But
freaking duh.
I know.
Yeah. Blame Gabbert.
I know, but Gabbert was the star. He started out the season.
Gabbert didn't play bad in the end of the year last year. You can't forget that. He actually he played in some close games against some good teams. He actually looked like he could do it there.
Yeah, he looked okay, but that always felt like his ceiling, right? Like that was the best Blaine Gabbert you'd ever see.
Yep.
I don't know. All right, guys. Going on to the Seahawks game. Eagles go on the road to take on the Seattle Seahawks in the Clink. Carson Wentz, Brandan. This is going to be a tough spot for him, I think.
This is going to be a tough spot indeed. And what the heck was that noise?
I don't know. We didn't hear it.
Okay. Lost my train of thought.
That was the sound of the podcast going off the rails.
It totally went off the rails.
This is dead air, man.
Damn it.
That sound is.
It's all my fault.
Going off the rails. You have to clean this up, dude.
He always does. He makes it sound legitimate somehow.
Always does. All right. Yeah, I like the Seahawks in this game, obviously, with the Seahawks playing at home. Carson Wentz going on the road to the Clink. The Eagles, not a great road team. They've only won one game on the road this year, and I believe that was against the Bears. So, one of the bottom tier teams in the league. Not a good traveling team this year. The Eagles, though, they are a fast starting team, and they've just been fizzling out late and not able to finish. So, obviously, when you're at home, you can make up for some of that. Not on the road. I like the Seahawks. 87% of users do as well. The Eagles, 13%.
Yeah, Brandon, I'll just piggyback off the road problems for the Eagles. I think that's something that speaks to a young team. I mean, that's one of the places that a young team struggles with early. And as they mature together, over a season or two, they get that road thing figured out. And I think that's something that they have a legitimate shot to do. One concern for me is that the Seahawks offensive line looked pretty good against the Patriots. But they aren't a world-beating defensive front. I mean, they're not. They're decent, but Fletcher Cox he's a beast. He's a beast now. So that's going to be a guy that we're going to have to look after. And Michael Kendricks and company as well. They're a better defense than maybe what we saw last week, but I still think being at home, Hawks should probably win this by 2 scores. 10, 17 points.
Yeah, I mean, Philadelphia doesn't travel well, and I think that's a big product of their defense and having a rookie quarterback who's just, maybe it's still a little bit too big for him. But you also see with this Philadelphia defense, I mean, I don't think the Seahawks are going to have any problem moving the ball, especially with their future Hall of Fame running back Procise in there now. I mean, that guy who's going to last all of 2.5 seasons, he's going to run the ball all over him. But I think Seahawks.
Rawls is actually going to play.
Yeah, he's coming back. And so I'm excited to see if he, how many carries. I don't think he'll get a big workload. I don't think anybody's expecting him to get a lot, but I think I'm excited to see him play. I think it's been a long time since week 2 or something like that, since we've seen him. So I don't really see the Seahawks, to be honest with you, losing very many games at all for the rest of the season. I don't know what their schedule looks like, but they've been playing really well, and they've been playing really well against good teams. So The interesting thing about this Eagles team is when you saw them play the Cowboys a couple weeks ago, it was a big time duel. And so the separation between this 8-1 Cowboys team and this, like you said, Adam, this team that's kind of on the outside looking in as far as a playoff spot in this division, there's not a lot of separation between these teams. So, I mean, the Eagles could find themselves in this mix, but it's unfortunately not going to start this week.
Interesting. Okay. Well, let's talk about a team who's rapidly finding itself outside of the mix. Basically, it's the Packers taking on the Redskins. And to all those Packers fans listening to this podcast, I just have one thing to say to you guys, and it's PANIC. Panic. It's time to panic. Do you agree, Brandan?
I do. The Packers are not looking good, especially when you lose to a Titans team that is it's traditionally coming out of a pretty mediocre division in the AFC South. Now they are looking like the best team out of that division, but that's a team, as a Packers fan, you would expect to compete against that Titans team, and it wasn't even close. It wasn't even close. And the Redskins, I think they have a much better defense. They're playing at home. I like Washington in this one. 56% of users going with Washington, 44% with the Packers. I'm taking the home team.
See, I would panic if the Packers were in a different division. The problem is the division leader is 5-4. They're only 4-5. They could still win this division, and they could still win it by a couple of games, even if they continue to play like this and just squeak out a couple more wins. I mean, it's still a possibility.
Well, how many wins you this division, do you think?
8? 9? I mean, I would have to go over and look at everybody else's schedule. But when you think about the Lions leading this division, can it be more than 8 or 9?
I don't know. Let's. I'll look up the Lions.
Okay, but I mean. Green Bay is an absolute train wreck, especially on defense right now. And Kirk Cousins, he's the type of guy with Jordan Reed and whoever the hell else he's got, Pierre Garçon, and whoever else he's throwing to. Yeah, he can actually pick this team apart. And so I'm going Washington at home because I don't think Green Bay really knows where to start with their issues right now. I mean, where do you really pin it on? It's kind of a combination between injured players, a lack of talent. Their defense is they're pretty injured right now, but they're also starting to look inwardly at the coach. I mean, they don't know where to pin this on. So is this team really going to win some games right now?
This is a must-win. So. This is a must-win game for them, looking at the schedule. If they plan to make the playoffs, they have to beat Washington, because after this, they go on the road against the Eagles. I think the Eagles at home, that can be a winnable game for them. Green Bay should be able to beat Houston maybe at home, but that could be a close game. Then Seattle comes into Green Bay the week after that, but then they have their NFC North opponents where they go on the road to Chicago. They're back home. They have Minnesota at home, and then they go on the road to Detroit to close out the season. That could be the NFC North championship.
Well, it could, because let's take a look at the remaining opponents for the Lions, the people who they're competing against here. It's not a cupcake. I mean, yes, they have the Jags this week, but after that, Vikings, which who knows what team you're going to get. Drew Brees and the Saints in New Orleans. Then the Bears, there's maybe a one gimme. Then they got the Giants on the road. That's tough. Cowboys on the road, and then Packers at home. That's how they finish up. Those are a lot of tough games there. So Packers might still have a chance to.
With all those divisional matchups in the end of the season, it's going to be interesting because it's like beat your opponent and play your way into the playoffs. So that'd be kind of interesting.
All right. Well, that's your Sunday night matchup, and I'm going with the Redskins as well. They're playing just a little more consistently somehow, some way.
I like their defense. I think their defense is what helps keep them in games right now. And it's good enough for Cousins to pull out some things when he has to.
I'm just impressed by R. Kelly playing running back, man. He's doing a hell of a job.
R. Kelly.
I know the rapper's R. Kelly, but there's literally a dude it's like Robert Kelly who's is the running back.
I like just referring to him as R. Kelly. That's
that's why I brought that up.
Is he peeing on adolescents as well?
Hey, he's doing something.
I mean, you never know these guys.
You do not. All right, guys. Last game on the schedule, Monday night game. Maybe not the most marquee matchup, although by record, a couple of good teams. The 6-3 Texans go on the road to take on the Oakland Raiders. You know the Oakland Raiders well, Gerrad. You also are familiar with Brock Osweiler, and he had a rough game last week.
Yeah, he did. Brock has not impressed me in any single game at all this year. And frankly, it's not necessarily him in this game that I'm worried about. It's that defensive front for Houston, especially along their right side, which would be Oakland's left side. They're going to run the crap out of the ball against Houston, and Derek Carr is not going to be shy either. I don't think we need to spend a lot of time on this. I think the Raiders are going to win this by several scores.
Yeah,
in Mexico City.
Well, that's where we were just talking about this. That this game was being played elsewhere, huh?
Yeah, Mexico City.
So not necessarily a home game for the Raiders, but still a lot of people liking the Raiders on the home side of the schedule. 90% going with the Raiders, only 10% like the Texans, and yeah, I like Oakland on this one. Now, I wouldn't say I haven't been impressed at all by Osweiler this season. That comeback win that he had over the Indy in Houston a few weeks back, that was kind of impressive because it looked like it was absolutely
against
over.
That secondary.
Yeah, well, I mean, they were down by 2 scores, and he brought the team back when they only had about 5 minutes left in the game, and all Houston fans were leaving the stadium. But still, Brock led him back, so he has it in him once in a while. I think Oakland's the superior team here, and I'm going with Oakland.
I'm taking Oakland. I think it's time to really put Derek Carr in the MVP conversation.
Yeah, he's there
without a doubt.
I think it is. He's really playing lights out football, and the talent is showing.
And he takes care of the football. He doesn't make big mistakes ever.
I mean, he certainly is helped out by that monstrous offensive line, but he's making Michael Crabtree look like a legit receiver. Cooper being out there with him, and now they're getting Latavius Murray's kind of getting that running game back on track the last couple of weeks here.
And the Raiders have the coolest punter in the league.
Dude, all right. I love King. I do. I enjoy it. I enjoy his
He's just a hell of an athlete, too. I mean, botched, you punt, and he can just take it for a first down like a wide receiver. Fine.
Yeah.
You win.
Exactly.
You never say like a punter is fun to watch. That dude is fun to watch.
Yeah, he is.
I tried to find out what his 40 time was because I was just curious. Couldn't find it anywhere. I have no idea what his 40 time was, but it's got to be pretty quick. All right. So we all have Raiders. I hope my picks this week come out a little better than they did last week, but I don't.
News and interesting topics from around the NFL.
Let's get to some headlines or some theories or some questions. I want to start out with one here that we brought up a little earlier as far as Jacksonville playing for the second pick in the draft at this point. Let's say they get that second pick. Do you draft a quarterback or do you stick with Blake Bortles?
If I'm them, I go for some sort of veteran, maybe a Tony Romo type of guy, but also draft. If you're getting the second pick, you could try to load up, get a guy in the draft, but also go after a Tony Romo to give that guy a year and do it the right way and let a guy sit for, well, I guess with Tony Romo, he'd sit for about a game and a half before he'd have to play.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
The Jags have other issues too. I think what you do is you take a solid offensive lineman or defensive. Yeah, they're starting to be stacked up on the defensive line. So I think you go offensive line, or maybe you have another stellar player that can really be a game breaker. And you look for guys in the second or third round. We're starting to see teams that if they choose wisely, that you can find guys in that second and third round that can, maybe they aren't great the first year, but they can come in later on and actually compete for that spot. And then that way you don't have to look as though you're totally giving up on Bortles.
You know, I I look at this and I think that you make a good point about picking up guys late, but I also know that in the history of the draft, you can pick up a lot of good quarterbacks with the second freaking pick. And I think there's some good ones in this draft, man. And I'm done. The Blake Bortles experiment is over. This is year 4. I mean, he really hasn't made any legitimate progress.
And he's got serious weapons too.
Yeah, I mean, this offense should be better. And you say they've got a lot of other problems. Well, a great quarterback makes up for a lot of them. And Gerrad, before we crack the mics open here, you made a great statement. You said if you have to ask if you have a franchise quarterback, you don't have a franchise quarterback.
Right.
And I think you're 100% right with that. I'm drafting a QB if I'm the Jags.
I think I would do the same thing because at this point, it depends on if they get rid of Gus Bradley. If you get rid of Gus Bradley, you're in full-on rebuild mode, I guess, if that's what you would want to call it. So then, you just kind of draft the guy and you go with whoever you got on the roster after that.
You could end up with that kid from Louisville. There's some players,
Yeah, I don't know who, but I like that idea.
I didn't ask you to know.
Solid contribution.
That's pretty much
I'm trying to look for another topic, guys. I'm done with this conversation.
Oh, okay. Doesn't like talking quarterbacks.
Well, no, see what I'm concerned about.
I got a quarterback topic.
I'm concerned about Al Michaels because I found out that he's going to be on a bye now and Mike Tirico's taken over for 3 weeks or 3 games.
What?
I don't know.
Oh no,
I don't like that at all.
I don't like it either. I like Al Michaels.
Okay, Al Michaels is not allowed to get old or die.
No.
He's just not allowed. So pull it together, Al, because we can't be having this.
Somebody on Reddit, though, made a good point that Al Michaels had his first time calling a Browns game in around 170 straight games, and now he wants a break from football.
Makes sense.
Not coincidental, right?
But that duo is the best duo for a primetime game we've had in forever.
I don't particularly care for Tirico. That's kind of my.
Yeah, he's okay. I mean, he can call a game.
Yeah,
but he's no Al Michaels.
No, I don't know.
I feel like Al Michaels and Chris Collinsworth actually get along.
Yeah, they really do.
They have good chemistry in the booth.
Don't tell me this is the downfall of Al Michaels, man. I can't handle it.
I know. I didn't see anything health-wise concerning, so maybe he's going to a wedding. Maybe he has a family.
For 3 weeks? There's a grandkid's being born or something.
For 3 weeks?
I think it's 3 games, but because of the Thanksgiving holiday in there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of health, RG3 has been approved for non-contact drills. Mm-hmm. What happens with him this year? And what do you do if you're the Browns about him or any other team about him after this season?
Way to contribute with a Browns topic, Gerrad. Well done.
It's an RG3 topic.
Brandon is unimpressed if we're not talking elite level quarterbacks. Apparently we can't talk about quarterbacks on other teams who are interesting to a lot of people. Those are
let's talk college quarterbacks. Let's talk a guy who might not even make it back in the league. This is good.
It's great. All right, good stuff.
Adam, let's discuss what's going to happen with RG3.
I think RG3 gets a couple starts going down the stretch. I think if you're Hugh Jackson and the Browns, you need to take an extended look at him. Obviously, he got hurt so early that it's hard to know. And plus, it's also, too, a little mini tryout for other teams. Can he stay healthy for 4 or 5 games? That's a great place to start.
I mean, I'm kind of curious if they even re-sign him or if he just goes somewhere else.
That could be. You could see him holding the clipboard somewhere. No doubt about that. I'm curious. I need to see, again, for the last 4 or 5. And where are the Browns going anyways? Why not? Why not play RG3? What, because McCown's going to be the savior? I'd ask you what your thought process is on this, Brandon, but I don't think you give any shits. 0.
It's true.
Okay, Brandon, what about Tony Romo, where he's going? A lot of talk going on about this the last 2 weeks, essentially. What do you think is going to happen with Tony Romo?
Here's a topic
to talk about.
Here's a topic I can get behind because
finally.
Well, a little more drama with this one, so I think Princess is on board.
Okay.
Well, here's a good quarterback. I mean, and if you didn't maybe get a little emotional yourself listening to Tony Romo, he got emotional in his press conference this week. And you can understand why, right? Because here he is, he's making the decision to kind of turn over the reins, and he can kind of see that light at the end of the tunnel. And it's breaking him up knowing the team that would be surrounding him if he were to step back into that starting role, right? Having Des Bryant, having Ezekiel Elliott, and that offensive line, it's kind of a bummer for a guy at the end of the year and to not come back, be able to come back in and take over and maybe actually lead that team to a respectable playoff appearance. I mean, they're not going to the Super Bowl because that's not going to happen. But at least he's recognizing that he's losing out on that opportunity to make it happen.
It's like driving a beat up 90 Honda Civic for like 10 years, and then all of a sudden you buy a Cadillac and your foot falls off and you can't drive it anymore, and you got to sit in the passenger seat.
That's hilarious.
That would suck.
It's tough, man. I mean, I didn't exactly get choked up listening to Romo's
maybe
speech.
Not choked up, but I was sympathetic. It got me in the feelers.
Sure. Huh. Okay.
I don't know, man. If you ask me, Tony Romo's got it pretty damn good, and I could care less whether he gets another opportunity or not.
So that was all nice and dandy, but Brandon did not answer the question, where does he end up next year?
Yeah.
And, it's tough to say. I think you'd have to have a team. Maybe I could see him possibly in Minnesota, depending on how well Bridgewater comes back from his injury. I could see him in Arizona, depending on
Carson Palmer.
Yeah.
That's place. I could see him in LA if Goff comes out the back half of the season and does not look good.
Or also the Jets. The Jets went after Brett Favre later in his career. They like to do this kind of thing. I think there's at least 5 or 6 people who are interested in pursuing him.
I could see him with the Broncos. I mean,
I don't know about that one.
Simeon's not playing great ball.
No, but we also know that we can't pay a guy that much money to play 2 games. That's kind of what you're looking at. And we don't have the offensive line to keep him upright. Yeah. Simeon's been getting his ass handed to him back there.
I don't think you'd have to pay Romo too much. I could see John Elway trying to load up with this defense again, much like he did with Peyton Manning. Take the aging Pro Bowl veteran quarterback and try to get him to a Super Bowl.
The difference this time, though, is you've already paid your key defensive players. You don't have a lot of money to give to
the
it.
cap could go up, and just have him on a 1-year deal.
Yeah, I think that. But here's the thing: I don't think that's going to happen, because I think that the Denver Broncos starting quarterback next year will be none other than Jay Cutler. Reunited, it feels so good.
Okay, if there's one thing I do know, it's that John Elway hates Jay Cutler with a passion. There's no way John Elway is willing to bring. John Elway had nothing but. He said okay things, cordial things about Jay Cutler when he left, but John Elway hates Jay Cutler more than any other player in the league.
You know what? John Elway loves a big-armed quarterback more than anybody else in the league.
He's already got a chucker. He's got 2 of them.
And Jay Cutler has shown he can play good football when you put him with a good coach. I want to know how Cutler fits in a Kubiak offense.
Look, Cutler does not fit in a Kubiak offense.
I think he fits in a Kubiak offense.
You're right, though. John Elway loves these big-armed chuckers. But we got 2 big-armed chuckers right now. Simeon's kind of a chucker. He's got no fear back there. He'll throw the ball anywhere. Paxton Lynch, nothing but a chucker. Mobile guys, we got 2 of them already. We're not going after a third.
No, bring in another.
Look, if you want me to predict what's going to happen, Simeon's not going to make it through the whole season. Paxton Lynch is going to come into play, and we're going to go with him next year. No. Shut up.
You know where a good spot for Romo would be is because who's the next most hurt quarterback in the league? It's Ben Roethlisberger.
Oh, okay.
Ben Roethlisberger for the Steelers. You put those guys in there, and you can use them interchangeably as each one recovers from their wounds.
I don't know if you're the Steelers, you're worried much about quarterback. I think you're worried about cornerback. Their defense isn't good, man.
I just think the Jets feel like they're probably going to have one more year of Brandon Marshall.
God, that is such a Jets signing.
Decker comes back. I think this is a Jets signing because they're a high-profile area in New York. Mm-hmm. They got to try and compete with Eli. Mm-hmm. I think they're going to get Tony Romo. He's going to stay at least close to Eli, so they get to play. He's going to be in the mix with the Jets.
Yeah.
That could be the answer.
I don't think the Jets are sold on Bryce Petty. They're not sold on Hackenberg. They're not sold on Geno. And obviously, this is the last time they do this shit with Fitz. Like they're over it.
Yeah, they're done with him.
Yeah. Okay, so since we brought up some topics, Brandon, you got anything you want to talk about?
No, I think that's a good place to close it out with Romo. That's a good way to finish the show, guys.
Well, I think with that, then there's only 2 things left to say since Brandon doesn't give a shit. One is hooray football.
Hooray football.
All right, beer.
Hooray beer. Screw color.
Join us on Facebook at facebook.com/picksandIPA.